For over 10,000 years, the dire wolf has been a ghost of the past, a fearsome predator lost to time. But now, a US biotech company, Colossal Biosciences, claims they've brought it back from the dead.
So, yes, they have slightly genetically modified wolves, maybe. And that's probably the best that you're going to get. And those slight modifications seem to have been derived from retrieved direwolf material. Does that make it a direwolf? No. Does it make a slightly modified grey wolf? Yes. And that's probably about it.
Meet Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, 3 cubs they say are living, breathing dire wolves. Is this a scientific revolution, or a high-tech hoax?
When you claim all these great big things and then you don't provide the associated evidence, especially in something as controversial as this, that is a massive red flag. It suggests that, well, at best, they've over-exaggerated. At worst, they're lying through their teeth.
Colossal dropped this bombshell on April 7th, releasing footage of these so-called dire wolf cubs. Their method? Extract DNA from fossils, like a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old inner ear bone, and splice it into the genome of a modern gray wolf using CRISPR, the gene editing tool that's rewriting the rules of science. But can CRISPR really resurrect a species extinct for millennia? Colossal says yes, and they've got the cubs to prove it. But skeptics, including Professor Corey Bradshaw from Flinders University, aren't convinced. They argue that DNA degradation makes it nearly impossible to fully recreate an extinct species.
We don't have the technology to modify entire genomes. We can modify components of genomes, and we can certainly sequence genomes, but the fact that fossil evidence, unless it's only recently extinct and very essentially not been degraded for very long, this is why sort of the Jurassic Park concept is even more fantastical, because we're talking about tens of millions of years between deposition of the individual and finding the fossil. So the DNA degradation would mean that if you could get a few base pairs out, you're doing well, and that's not enough to create an entire genome. Where do you put them? I mean, this is one thing that seems to be completely lost on the de-extinction people, is that, let's say that even you manage to bring back a sufficient number of mammoths or dire wolves to create a viable population. This is important because you need thousands of completely genetically diverse individuals in a population for having any chance of surviving into the future. The whole Adam and Eve concept of you create 2 and they can just go on and do their own thing. Now that's called inbreeding depression. And then things die very quickly. You know, most introductions of most species fail, over 99%. Why? Because there's a few individuals that inbreed themselves out of existence. And this is the same with respect to humans. It happens in humans, it happens in mice, it happens in the smallest individuals.
De-extinction could restore lost species and balance ecosystems, or unleash chaos on today's world. This isn't just science, it's a battleground. Genius or madness? You decide. Comment below and subscribe to DRM News for more.